Hello and welcome back to We Don't Know Cars. I'm Trey, and today we are going to be doing the rear drum brakes and rear axles oil seals on a 94 Toyota 4Runner with the 3-liter engine, 4-wheel drive. Yeah, so I'm already a little ways through this process, not too far, just have the car jacked up and the wheels off and the first drum off. I haven't messed with any of the hardware or anything yet. Just kind of was like, I'm here, I might as well film it, show y'all there's plenty of good videos on this. It's not like it's a necessity, but I figured I'd bring y'all along for the ride. So here we go. So as you can see, drums off, it's sitting right there. Car's up, jack stands, jack is still supporting, tires underneath, be double, triple, extra safe when you're doing this kind of shit. You don't want a car falling on you, that's no fun. So here we are. This car does not have anything for brakes. I need to fill up the fluid, and I figured while I was in here, because I did new fronts, rotors, bearings, pads, and all that jazz, I figured I'd do the drum brakes. So we've got rear axle oil seal. We've got shoes, hardware, and then new drums. So these are the shoes here. So we got new ones of those, new springs, all that jazz. I didn't get new wheel cylinders because I don't care. I'm not doing that. That's a lot. That's just really not that much. And if you come in here and see that these have been leaking fluid, replace them. Mine are fine. The reason I got axle oil seals is because I don't know if you can see that. You see how brown that is? That's the plate on the back there, and it's covered in gear oil. So that oil seal blew, and of course makes that brake not function because it's gonna coat all your braking stuff in oil, which of course is not going to give you the friction required for these brakes to actually stop your vehicle. So that's why we're doing seals. And if you're doing one, you might as well do them both. But anyways, now that we know exactly what we're doing, you can see the brake fluid leaking because we've got our 10mm flare nut wrench right here on this brake line, because we'll have to pull the axle out of the housing in order to get to those seals. So we're taking that off, and I'm going the wrong direction, but you get the idea. And then there's these 4 bolts, 2 right here, 2 on the other side. I've got that one off. I mean, they're nuts, not bolts. But I got that one off, that one's loose, they're all loose. And it's really simple. Those 4 come out, this line comes off, and this whole assembly comes out with the axle, attached to it. Of course, when you're pulling it out, be sure to, support that axle so you're not dragging it across the housing and messing it up. But anyways, here we go, we'll get started on this. Just finished taking that brake line off. I'll get those 4 nuts, and then I'll show pulling this out. Okay, so there's one thing I forgot, and it's the emergency brake cable, and it runs right here. It's this one with the spring around it, which that one is not ran correctly. But anyways, all you gotta do is pop it out, and then just for taking this axle out, I should say, I should have started with that, because this is, it of course ran through there. So just taking this guy out, it's got the 2 bolts here, and then should be kind of looped around that, and then just pop it out of there. And then with those 4 bolts, or 4 nuts off the back, and this brake line, it's off of there. It's a tight fit. But anyways, and then you can pull this out. So we're gonna go ahead and move that cable real quick. Let's see, maybe just a screwdriver will do it. Okay, come on. Come on. Ow. Of course, make sure this isn't, engaged when you go to do this, because, that'll make your life kind of difficult. Okay, well, what if we try to take that off first? And I don't have a 10mm socket on me, of course, because I didn't think I was gonna need one. Okay, we're getting in here. As you can see, we got that guy detached out of there. Just used a couple screwdrivers, leveraged it. This one's a pain in the ass to get back on later. So we'll kind of try to talk about some technique on how to get that guy in there in a minute when we're putting things back together. We're just gonna take these two 10mm bolts out. So this guy will just slide out the back, and then we can pull this whole axle out with the brakes attached and everything. There we go. I'll get in here. Okay. Knock our wrench off. Now when you get this initially loose, you want to make sure you can get under it so you're not dragging that axle on the housing. You're gonna want to grab it like this, and this is going to be probably a little messy. Okay, there we are. All right, so now it's pulled out. You can see here, this is our seal, and we'll check before we tear it out. This is our new one, matches perfectly. So we will grab a screwdriver or something real quick, get this guy knocked out of here. If you have like a pick, that would work really good too. Just be careful not to wreck the axle, like the housing surface, so you don't mess up any sealing. And then this guy will just set in, and then just use our dead blow and just go in kind of a circular motion just to make sure it's evenly seated. And then we can shove the axle back in, bolt it back down, and start working on fixing the actual brakes. So we will go this guy, and I'm sure there's mechanics out there that are like cringing. Okay, maybe not that one, maybe we'll go with the bigger one. Yep. This is impossible to do with one hand, so I will loop you guys back in when I have got this seal out. That just took a little bit of effort, a couple minutes. Now you want to just make sure that make sure that the surface is good in here. You know, don't go sticking your dirty hands in there or anything. You know, don't do that. That could be bad. Don't use your dirty towel either to wipe some of this shit off. You know, that's also not, you know, that's not approved, but that's fine. Okay, we do want to make sure that this surface is good up here too. So I'm just gonna run my nail around and just, there we go. So this is good enough. There's no major scarring or anything. Still a little bit of gear oil, you know, in here, so it'll give that good suction. We'll take our new one, set her in. Oh, well, not quite like that. Anyways, you get the idea. Set her in, hammer around lightly, put the axle back in, and then we can start turning. Okay, done. Easy money. Pressed it in with my hands, tapped it with the dead blow. Make sure it's evenly, you know, seated in there. Give it a look, you know. If you see somewhere that's not quite, or maybe a little too far in or whatever, just adjust it. Make sure it's pretty even. We shove this axle back in here. Let me set it back up. There. Hopefully you can see that. Oh, I should mention, there's a bearing here. And, you know, that's also a good idea, just to really get your dirty hands in there. But you can replace that if you would like. You know, I'm sure it's recommended if you're in this far, why not? But you have to get the actual shaft pressed out of this actual, like, hub thing in order to get to that bearing. And then you have to press the bearings on, press everything back together. And I don't want to take it to a Napa or anything to have that done, nor do I care. They roll just fine. So I'm going to go ahead and slap it back in with just that bearing. Looks like it may have been done before. If I remember right, that doesn't look like an original bearing. But anyway, so we're just going to shove it in. Here we go. Whoa. Maybe. Yep. There we go. Again, hopefully you can see that. I don't know. Alrighty. Oh. There we go. Get this guy turned around. There we go. Yep. Okay, everything's back in. That axle, of course, is only gonna slide into where those splines on the end of it fit into the proper gear in the rear end there. So you don't have to worry about that. Now we will put our nuts back on the back and get working on these. This is gonna be, it's gonna be fun. 14 out, there it is. So I'll just show you guys one side, so it'll be a pretty quick video. Just keep in mind it's the same for the other side. Also, I don't know if you guys watch, any of you will watch Junkyard Digs. Kevin over there always suggests that you only take one apart at a time, because even if you take pictures of all this brake hardware and which place it's in, chances that you miss a spring or something and can't get it all in the photo are pretty good, just because the visibility is not super great. So don't take all of them, don't take both sides apart at the same time. Definitely take one apart, put it back together, and then double check it even, you know, make sure that it matches the other side. And if it was done right in the first place, then you should be good at that point, right? Using the other side as a reference. Just a little tip that I'd like to reiterate, because I think it is a good one. Because the first time I did this, I almost made the mistake of taking both sides apart at one time. So, just definitely. All right, let's go through real quick. Oh man, where did that go? Well, there it is. Don't lose your hardware. Let's go through what I have first here. So, real quick, just some tools that you're gonna need for, especially these springs, they're a real pain. So get you some screwdrivers. Flatheads work best, so make sure you get you a couple varieties and sizes to help get some of those things, you know. Yeah, dead blow is always good. I use WD-40. Apparently that's a no-no. You want to use PB Blaster. That's just better, I guess. Anyways, brake clean. You're gonna need to have a couple cans of this. See, because I can't even see what I'm doing in here, so I'm just gonna. Yep. Nice. Okay, now we can see what's happening with most of that brake dust gone. So to disassemble these, it's pretty simple, and if we can get it all off in one go, I will, because that would be best. Gotta get these guys off, and of course there's a tool for that, which I might have. Let me see. Or you can just use some pliers. Pliers work too. Let's see here. Do I have that tool? I don't know. I do somewhere. Haha, I think that's it. Let's see. So it should just fit on here, like this. You press and turn. Well, if it wanted to cooperate, you press and turn. Well, maybe. Well, I'm almost there, I think. There we go. See, because this has that key in it that matches that key. So you just suppress that spring, turn it to where this key lines up, and then you can just pop it all off, and that goes out the back. You can see this, you know, there's a sleeve there. It goes out the back. Hardware kit should have all new stuffs for that. Go over there. And then you do the same on that side. then you should be able to wiggle this whole, this whole thing should come off as a piece, as a unit, so then you can really see all your springs and stuff. I'm gonna go ahead and slide this bottom spring off. It's gonna be your, I think it's, I wanna say that it is blue. No, it's the black spring, okay? And in your new hardware kit. So this guy will just come off somehow. Keep in mind that orientation. Okay, well, maybe. Okay, so now we got that off. Just releasing the tension off that guy. We can flip it over here. We see we got a little spring, big spring. This one's yellow, blue, and black, at least in the hardware kit that I have. You'll need this. This is the self adjuster. It's what brings your shoes closer to the drum as they get worn down so that your pedal stays firm. And you will need this setup here, emergency brake and stuff. So you'll make sure you save these, and then this guy. So just these things. Now the rest of it, of course, if you buy a new hardware kit, you'll have, of course, you have new shoes, and you can get a new drum or you can get them resurfaced if you want to go that route too. I just went for new ones. So now that we see where these things are, and we have this one off, we can kind of start to place some things up here, minus these things and this guy, which of course we can set in a little later here. So we'll get these set up at least and start figuring out how they're gonna go in for us. So a couple things to note when you're doing this. There is a right and wrong side for this particular shoe with that pin through it. As you can see here, that is the pin. So when you're doing this is the driver's side, make sure your pin ends up here. And of course the passenger will be on the other side and have the pin, where it needs to be. Just make sure you got them on the right side. Otherwise, none of this is gonna happen. Also, we'll go ahead and get in here again. I've got my wire brush on my drill here. Just gonna clean up this backing plate here. Just make it look nice. It's not necessary per se, but you wanna get some of this old brake dust out of here. Clean everything off, use your brake clean, wire wheel, clean her up, make her look nice. That way your new brakes are gonna go on a good surface for them. And there are some people that put anti-seize on these contact points. I think there's three per shoe. I'm not going to do that. A lot of people do that in like high humidity, rust, like areas that rust is, really common, Iowa, stuff like that. It's places they salt the roads. They put anti-seize on these just so they don't get stuck, so your brakes continue to work. I live in an extremely dry area, so I'm not really worried about that. I'm just gonna clean them all up, make it look nice. Okay, so now a little bit of time has elapsed. I just got that one in, of course, a little blue spring right back here, so that, right on this guy, you can see the end there. Make sure that's hooked in. Then I had it still off, just slide that self-adjuster in. I screw it all the way in first, so it's as short as it can be. Set it in, make sure these are roughly sitting on their contact points, and then we gotta go and try to put this black spring on. This is the biggest pain in the ass next to the this lever that is not gonna be fun to put the spring back on either. But just get a screwdriver, try to hook it in there and just work at it. There's no real way to do this that's easy per se. You just gotta fight that tension and get this spring on. Of course, this is gonna be way tougher to put on than the old tired spring was to take off. So just be careful. They do have a lot of tension on them. Maybe make sure you're wearing like eye protection or something, just so these don't fling off and hit your eyeballs. But here we go. We're gonna go ahead and get this guy seated, get it kind of shimmied and adjusted, and then, well, I guess then we're done. As soon as we run that cable, and it's all good. Alrighty, just checking in again, so make sure you guys don't miss any, good information. So one thing that I didn't mention in the last part here, I was putting these in first. So once you've got these set up here with this yellow spring and of course the blue spring on the back and the self-adjuster in, set it up and then line up the holes through here, and get these in so it's going to hold your shoes to the backing plate while you're trying to do some other things like get this spring on and get this self-adjuster, the parking brake or e-brake on. So that's a good tip. There is a hole back there, you see? So you come through the back with a flathead screwdriver, and you're gonna use that against this gear here, and that's gonna kick the self-adjuster out or in, depending on which way you turn it, and that's gonna put your shoes to where they just barely drag on the inside of the drum. And then you can kind of, so you just want it to have just slight contact. So when you hit that pedal, it's gonna hit the surface. But of course you don't want it to where you can't spin it, because then it's too much and you're gonna be, rubbing off that braking material all the time, and it'll, So, and you don't want it too far back, because if you, push the brake pedal and it's too far, you may not contact the new drum immediately. Of course, this will do it all automatically over time, as this, is all tensioned and everything. So when you hit that brake, as these wear down, this is going to move out and kick these guys out further. All right, we have our new drum. I didn't spray the outside because I'm not worried about the outside. Sprayed the inside though, made sure that was clean. Now we'll get in here into this back with a tiny baby screwdriver, flathead of course, and we'll go back here and we'll get this adjusted. So there's the gear, and we need to go in a bit. I think this is in, and we're gonna find out. Okay, so did that get better or worse? You hear how it's grinding? A little too much. So that's a little firm. Okay, after some adjusting, that's what you're looking for. A little bit of drag, not too much, and it shouldn't be too hard to turn. One hand I can do that, so now it's good. We can, we can slap the tire back on, and congratulations, you've now done the rear drum brakes and axle oil seal on a 95 Toyota 4Runner. Or this one's the 94. It doesn't matter. They're all the same from like 80 something to 95. So it's the same process for all of these cars. Just drum brakes. Same process for any drum brake, really. But yeah, thanks for tuning in. This is Trey with We Don't Know Cars, and I will catch you guys in the next video. Quick note, don't forget to put your brake line back on, and before you go driving, be sure to bleed the wheel cylinders to ensure that you have brake fluid in them and that your brakes are gonna work.